Chart Soren Suek. As Bupa Chart. Bo. While grieving over her breakup with her ex-boyfriend Pong in a club, she is drugged by a patron but is timely saved by a man, Tas. The following day, she accuses Tas of raping her but is unable to lodge a police report for fear of tarnishing her family's reputation. Instead, she faces threats from Tas, warning her to stay away from Pong because Pong happens to be Tas's sister, with Ani's husband. To protect the family's reputation, her parents force her into marrying Tas, and she is deceived into accompanying him to his secluded vineyard in the province. Being a self-centered woman, she behaves frantically and stubbornly, refusing to cooperate with Tas when she first arrives at his vineyard. Having no other option after a failed escape attempt, she pretends to live there willingly to gain Tas's trust while planning for further attempts. Even though her life at the vineyard is filled with bickering and teasing with Tas, she realizes that she doesn't truly hate him. When Tas gets injured while rescuing her from an abduction attempt, she is deeply moved and begins expressing her care for him. Just when things are going well in her relationship with Tas, to the point of agreeing to marry him, his true identity as with Ani's brother is exposed. This discovery leads her to question whether Tas has been pretending to love her as a means to separate her from Pong for the sake of his sister, with Ani. As a result of this, she decides to leave him. She is not only angry at Tas but also at her sister Bam, as well as her parents, for conspiring with Tas to deceive her, especially since her family has been aware of Tas's true identity all along. When Tas's sister, Wethany, who had accused her of trying to steal her husband, Pong, becomes seriously ill but refuses surgery, she and Tas make a deal to pretend to be a loving couple. They hope that by doing so, it will alleviate Wethany's concerns about Bo attempting to steal her husband and encourage her to undergo surgery promptly. Meanwhile, she continues to be troubled by Pong, who feels envious of her affectionate display with Tas. Pong is unable to get her out of his mind and desires to marry her, despite his wife's deteriorating health condition. The continuous involvement of her ex-boyfriend, Pong, and the envious people in her life ultimately caused her relationship with Tas to deteriorate and spiral into turmoil, even threatening her life and leading to false accusations of a crime she did not commit. However, her deep love for Tas has strengthened her resolve to overcome all obstacles and restore their relationship to its former state. Saran Sirilak. Porshaz. Conifan. Tas. Owner of a vineyard. Coming from a wealthy family, he is a caring and protective brother to his sister, Wethany. He saves Bo from being raped by a club patron but instead, she accuses him of raping her, an act which he did not commit. He, however, falls in love with her at first sight. Upon discovering that his brother-in-law, Pong, is causing unhappiness for his sister by frequently seeing Bo, he resorts to threatening Bo to keep her away from Pong. However, when his threats prove ineffective, he takes a sudden step and approaches Bo's parents, asking for their permission to marry their daughter. He successfully secures consent from Bo's parents to marry their daughter and conspires with them to deceive Bo into living with him at his vineyard. Although he regards her as his wife, he maintains respect for her and refrains from consummating their marriage. He expresses his feelings to Bo, but she does not take them seriously and perceives him as a cruel person for preventing her from leaving. When he learns that his sister's marriage, which has been strained all along, has almost reached the point of divorce, he worries that her husband, Pong, may intensify his efforts to rekindle with Bo. In order to solidify his marriage, he decides to propose and marry Bo in a formal wedding ceremony with the consent and assistance from her parents. Nevertheless, he promises them that he will not force Bo anymore and that he is prepared to step back if she rejects his proposal. After successfully winning Bo's heart and marrying her, their happiness is abruptly shattered when his true identity as Wethany's brother is exposed. Bo is furious and decides to leave him because she believes he duped her into marrying him to separate her from his sister's husband, Pong, who is Bo's ex-boyfriend. When his sister, Wethany, who is madly in love with her husband, Pong, falls seriously ill and has lost the will to live because Pong wants to leave her, he strikes a deal with Bo. According to the deal, he and Bo, whose marriage is crumbling, will pretend to be in love to assure Wethany that Bo has no intention of stealing Pong from her. During this period, just as he is gradually rebuilding his previous relationship with Bo, it encounters challenges from Bai Tong, who is obsessed with him and determined to remove Bo from his life at all cost. Tikfet Lekawijit. Typhoon. As Warapong. Pong. A musician. He is Bo's ex-boyfriend who is forced to marry Tas's sister Wethany, after Weethany is pregnant with his child. Despite being married to his wife whom he doesn't love, he is unable to get Bo off his mind and is making desperate attempts to reignite his relationship with her. His frequent encounters with Bo ignites the jealousy of his wife Weethany and enrages her brother Toss, whom he is frightened of, due to having been beaten up by him in the past. Due to his fear of Toss, he attempts to show concern for his wife but struggles to be intimate with her. Furthermore, he forces himself to endure her frequent outbursts of jealousy. He is outraged when he eventually learns that his wife Weethany has been lying about being pregnant to keep him by her side all along. He sees this as an opportunity to divorce her and hopes to rekindle his past relationship with Bo. However, his plan is disrupted when Weethany falls seriously ill and her brother Toss begs him to stay by her side to give her strength to live. He rejects Toss's plea because he believes Weethany is feigning sickness to gain his attention, as she has always done in the past. After being persuaded by Bo as well, he eventually agrees to stay by Weethany's side. However, he still holds on to his desire to divorce his wife once she recovers, with the intention of marrying Bo. When his wife Weethany finally agrees to divorce him, he realizes how much he loves her and wishes to reverse his decision. However, his realization comes too late following a tragedy that befalls his wife. Rundapamun Talampa. Bloy. As Weethany, younger sister of Toss, wife of Pong. Being deeply in love with Pong, she tricked him into marrying her by faking her pregnancy. She has had heart illness ever since she was small and often uses her health condition to gain attention from Pong. Despite Pong's attempt to show care for her because of her pregnancy, their relationship, built upon deceit, lacks intimacy. When she discovers that Pong still holds feelings for Bo, she becomes furious and confides in her brother, Toss, who in turn, threatens Pong, warning him not to cause unhappiness to his sister. Her jealousy over her husband's relationship with Bo often leads to arguments. However, every time they argue, she feigns fainting to make him yield to her, as she is aware of her husband's soft-hearted nature. Upon discovering that Bo is in a relationship with her brother, her hatred for Bo intensifies, as she firmly believes that it is all part of Bo's scheme to eventually steal her husband away from her. In a state of distress, she finds herself being provoked, manipulated and exploited by Baitong, the woman who is obsessed with her brother, to get rid of Bo. Chatdao Sayatipal film. As Kantika Baitong, daughter of Toss's vineyard business partner. She has been admiring Toss for a long time and is envious when Toss abruptly introduces Bo as his wife to her. Despite her father's advice that she should move on and forget about Toss since he is already married, she remains adamant not to do so because she has been nurturing a desire to marry Toss for a long time. Upon discovering that Bo has been deceived into marrying Toss and is attempting to escape, she feels relieved and willingly helps Bo to leave the vineyard. While assisting Bo, she also has a scheme in which she hopes to force Toss to marry her. However, her plan not only fails to unfold as intended but also backfires on her. Simultaneously, Bo also fails to escape as well, leading her to believe that Bo never truly intended to run away, but rather had planned to separate her from Toss. Consequently, she begins to harbor animosity towards Bo and vows to break up Bo's relationship with Toss. When she learns that Toss will be holding a wedding ceremony with Bo, she intensifies her efforts and willing to go to great extremes to disrupt the event. She is pleased after learning that Toss and Bo's marriage has crumbled and seizes this opportunity to stay by his side. When Toss's sister Weethany falls gravely ill, she exploits the situation to her advantage by deceiving Toss and Weethany with lies in order to turn them against Bo. However, upon learning that Bo and Toss have reconciled, without knowing that it is merely a pretense for Weethany's sake, she becomes extremely distressed. In a state of despair and desperation, she tries to seduce Toss and confesses her feelings to him. Her animosity towards Bo intensifies after Toss rejects her. Ever since then, she feigns having moved on, but in reality, she is scheming in secret to remove Bo from Toss's life. Nataran. Soana lured. As K. Pong's best friend, a florist. Whenever Pong is feeling down or needs assistance concerning Bo, she is always the person he turns to. Although she advises Pong to forget about Bo, given that he is already married and will soon become a father, she often relents and agrees to assist him after he pleads with her. Chain Vut Kong Turnin. As Chai. Toss's good friend. He is a car salesman and a close friend of Toss, and is frequently sought out by Toss for help. By chance, he encounters Kay at her flower shop, and although they initially bicker whenever they meet, they eventually grow fond of one another. Wasu. Sang Sinkyo. As Chai's father. Kanyarat Pong Ko Umpanart. As Bam. A home baker, Bo's sister. Like her father, she holds a dislike for Pong and advises her sister, Bo, to let go of him and move forward. When her father gives his consent to Toss marrying Bo, she is convinced that her father has made the right decision. Consequently, she assists in deceiving Bo, leading her to Toss's vineyard and abandoning her there. When Pong informs her that Toss is a cruel man and that Bo may be ill-treated there, she is unconvinced and secretly goes to the vineyard to check on her sister. Nippon Pita Clopanid. As Shakorn. Manager at Toss's vineyard. He is a kind-hearted and trusted manager at Toss's vineyard who assists Toss in keeping watch over Bo. He has been admiring Baitong all along but has never expressed his feelings to her because he knows that Baitong loves Toss. However, encouraged by Toss, he eventually gathers the courage to declare his love to Baitong. She not only rejects him because of his boring and naive personality but also insults him for being too poor for her. When he discovers a devastating secret about Baitong, she exploits his love for her to ensure he does not expose it. Wachira Permzuriya. As Tayu. Servant at Toss's house in the vineyard. Piawat Ratanarovichet. As Ying. Worker at Toss's vineyard, husband of two. Treen Setachok. As Rangzak. Retired Army General, Bo's and Bam's father. He is the strict father of Bo and Bam, who prioritizes his family's reputation above all else. He is determined to ensure that his daughters, especially Bo, do not tarnish his name in any way. When Toss, whom he has never known before, unexpectedly shows up at his house and requests his and his wife's consent to marry Bo, due to having slept with her, he becomes outraged and beats Toss up and opposes his proposal. However, upon discovering that Toss is the son of his close friend, hailing from a reputable family, he eventually grants his consent for Toss to marry his daughter. He is convinced that by marrying Bo to Toss, whom he perceives as a responsible man, his family's reputation will be safeguarded. Kwanroti Klomklum. As Busaba. Bo's and Bam's mother. She reluctantly conspires with her husband and daughter to deceive Bo into moving to Toss's vineyard and is forbidden from having any contact with Bo by her husband. She blames her husband's excessive discipline towards their daughter, Bo, who inherits his stubborn nature, while he blames her for being too lenient with Bo. Tanapach Chanthasorn. As Fawn. A mischievous orphan raised in the vineyard by Toss. Toss takes pity on him after the death of his parents and raises him at the vineyard, ensuring that he is well taken care of and receives an education. The employees of Toss have a difficult time managing him as he is a truant who frequently finds ways to skip school. He likes Bo and gets along well with her but he dislikes Baitong because she looks down on and insults him. While playing and wandering around the vineyard, he witnesses unsettling events taking place, but is warned by the perpetrator to remain silent. Kajorn Sakrat Ananayasai. As Praise Baitong's father. He is a major business partner of Toss who is well aware that his daughter, Baitong, has been harboring a desire to marry Toss one day. When he learns that Toss is married to Bauf, he advises his daughter to forget about him, but she is adamant about not giving up her desire to marry Toss. Noticing his daughter's increasingly unhealthy fixation on gaining Toss's attention, he resolves to take strict measures to prevent her from harming others. However, his well-intentioned plan is thwarted by his daughter, a cunning individual with a multitude of tricks at her disposal. Padhama Panthong. As Wei Yao. A servant at Toss's house who hates Pong and is overly protective of Weithani. Jam. A servant at Toss's house. Nanthasai Visalayaputra. As Tar. A worker at Toss's vineyard. to Thai Channel 7. Thank you for watching.